fishing effort now is all on the shoreline.
Yeah.
Everybody is on the shoreline, and then you have way more people. I mean, we have 18,000 registered boats in Martin County.
Yeah.
And 90% of them are fishing snook on any given day. So the fish, I mean, they're just beat up unmercifully.
Bad day to be a snook.
And then you have, you know, we just had the big FWC meeting where they were talking new regulations on snook.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the guys in Sebastian and Fort Pierce saying it's the best we've ever seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But they have, so they have the deep water inlets. They have two things. They have deep water inlets, and all the fish that were always tagged in Palm Beach County, the FWC did all their tagging efforts. They all go to the turning basin in Fort Pierce in the winter. And all their tag returns are from there. They know it. They know all Martin County and Palm Beach County's fish go to Fort Pierce turning basin. So all the fish are there. What is left is there. So they think it's still great. And Sebastian is the same thing, deep water inlet. And those guys have now all learned that croakers work. And there's guys selling croakers. You call a croaker broker, and he comes and dumps 200 in your pen.
Wow.
And, they're all fishing croakers, and they're all whacking the fish. What little bit of spawning biomass is left.
Wow.
Dude, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Water quality is we pay attention to it in Florida, but it's a giant issue all along the coasts.
It's everywhere.
Where there's a Gulf Coast, freshwater runoff, and we deal with it in New Jersey. Obviously, Texas has its issues, and the Gulf Coast. But it just boggles my mind how people aren't paying attention to it, because water quality is everything for guys like us, right? I mean, we just, if you're a coastal person, man, everything depends on it. And the fight is 100% water quality no matter where we are. I mean, it needs to be fought. There's a bunch of other industries starting to come in up the East Coast. Wind is one of them. And, man, what's going on with wind and their infrastructure and moving cables inland and across beaches and trying to move it across bays where there's spawning grass and shrimp, like we talked about, bait forage fish and stuff, and crabs and eels and everything, and clams and oysters and mussels. And, man, these people are going to screw up the water quality so bad they have no clue what they're doing, and it's all to chase wind. And if wind was so great, our sailboats, we got rid of wind. We used to bring everything moved commerce. Wind came, and that's how you got around the world. But guess what? It wasn't as efficient enough. So we went to fossil fuel and moved products and everything more efficiently. But now we want to go back to wind. It makes no sense to me. We're going backwards.
You know what I think is very interesting? It's like, okay, so I'm sitting here at this table with you guys, and I have no business sitting here with you guys. I'm going to tell you that right now. No.
You're in the business.
No, but it really is just absolutely both mind-boggling and inspiring that I'm sitting with an absolute legendary table right now, and all we've been talking about, like, for the last half an hour is water quality and coastal fishery issues, because it's so imperative that action gets taken, and fight the good fight continuously to make sure, because it's fallen so far, even in the last 10 years. It's just fallen so far from where it should be, or even where remotely it should be. And it's I think we have a very interesting talk ahead of us regarding that.
What you notice most is everything's accelerating.
Right.
It's getting worse, quicker and quicker and quicker. Things are degrading really quickly.
Yeah.
Particularly South Florida, everywhere below, on either coast, below Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I have a bunch of guys that fish offshore who aren't in the fight, and I don't understand why. And I try to explain to them. I go, first off, the inshore habitat is where all your bait fish grow up, and a lot of the grouper and snapper as well. But no matter what you look at it, and whether you're in the Keys or whether you're offshore anywhere in South Florida, when the fishing goes bad inshore, where do you think everybody's going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you turn around and go, where'd all these boats come from offshore?
Right.
You'll know why. People aren't getting rid of their boats.
Yeah.
They love being out on the water, and we're all drawn to it.
Where you find the bait, you're going to find the fish. Where you're going to find the fish, you're going to find the people.
Fish aren't hard to figure out, man.
Yeah.
They want three things. They want comfort. They want a steady source of food, and every now and then they want to reproduce.
That's right.
Right.
They're kind of like a guy.
I like to think they like to get caught too.
God
but
almighty,
I don't know.
it sounds like fishermen.
So listen, I'm going to introduce this table, and it's my honor and task to do so. All right. So I am sitting here today with three absolute legends, and
Are we that old?
yeah, no.
I got a good story.
How did that
for you.
happen?
I got a good story for you about that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Two of you guys are receiving Lifetime Achievement Awards, right? Your Tommy Gifford IGFA Awards, and that's really what inspired us to have this episode, because that's going to happen. Well, by the time this airs this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like Ray. We talked last week, and I explained to you, like, I've been dying to have you on the show for the
thank
longest
you.
time. And
I've been dying to be
you're
here, so this
finally here
works.
sitting
Yeah.
next to me. This is outstanding.
Thank you
Mike,
for having
same
me.
with you. I mean, really, Karl's a regular on the show. You know, it's funny where I was laying out this whole presentation and everything like that, and I think I was putting everyone's episodes and how many times these different people have been on. For Karl, I lost count. I just put regular guest.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know how many times it is.
A lot. I don't know. It's
If you put rum and sushi together,
right.
Karl will show up.
Listen, when Papa's calls, you answer.
I hear you,
Yeah.
man.
I think now I just text him a picture of the headphones and a bottle of rum, and he goes, "Be right there."
I'm in. I'm in.
So you guys
Where
are
Papa's goes, I go, and Papa
Right.
goes with me everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, I take him. Papa's Polaris. An important
Speaking
part
of fighting
the
the good
program.
fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Captain Ray Rosher, Captain Karl Anderson. Congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
Tommy Gifford.
It's
Let's
amazing, right?
not leave out
Yeah.
our buddy
No,
Mike
no,
here.
no, that's-
They just ran out of spaces. There were only 5
That's
spaces.
right.
He was next.
That's right.
Well, listen. So Mike, I'm very happy that you're here to really do this episode with me, and just and I know that when we spoke last week, we explained all about the podcast and everything like that. I think you can see how this is exactly what this podcast was built to be from the very beginning. This is episode 168, I believe, and I believe that we've matured into a place that here we are, and being the vision of what this podcast was always supposed to be. Right, we're bringing legends to the table. So, thank you
always
very
fun.
much. So, welcome to the Connected by Water
Always fun.
podcast, fueled by our very good friends at Papa's PLR Rum. We remind you never to be a spectator. I'm your host, Dennis Friel, and we are coming to you from the Connected by Water Studio Gallery in Pompano Beach, Florida. We are a Waypoint hosted podcast. You can find us there. And also watch, listen, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Email us at sales@connectedbywater.com. Before we start off, I do have to mention our Starbright Do-Gooder of the week, and it actually happens to be a husband and wife duo, Casey and Michael Hoffman from the Banana River area. They were recently recognized by our good friend Corey Redwine for removing an absolute gargantuan non-indigenous unicorn from the Banana River, otherwise known as a mylar balloon. So, but in fact, they have both been long known in their area as being stewards of their coastal fishery, and for that, they are the next certified Starbright Do-Gooders. Congrats, Casey and Michael. You get the Starbright bucket of fun.
Very cool.
Right?
Nice,
So,
nice.
yeah, so-
Great Starbright does that.
So,
It's a neat deal.
yeah, I mean, well, they're all about, their products are all great and environmentally friendly. Gregor and the crew, they all do a really great job of being responsible.
Yeah.
When we just talked about all the chemicals that are being
No,
put
amazing
into the
products.
water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to support
They're
that.
aware of what
conservation.
I think
Yeah.
everybody at this table uses their product.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
conservation is our number one issue here, and our
100%.
number one fight here at the show. So I want to go into a little bit more, go on my little bit of a rant, and I'm just really going to turn the table over to you guys. So we bring people on this show that they're living a life that's connected by water. They believe in the whole connected by water spirit, and what I mean by that is being community, that energy, that invisible power that is water, and what brings us together, whether it be watermen, whether it be fishermen, and the majority of the people that we have in this show are captains. But we do bring paddleboarders and different watermen and surfers and all different likes of the world, and most people that have a good message to share about how they ditched that normal life and just wanted to follow their passion and their dream and make a life living, whether it be in the industry or just like living a life that's connected by water. So this show was always designed to be a platform for people to come on and tell that story. And that's what we want to do today, is to come on and tell your story. So I want to get a grasp of where you guys came from, right, from the very beginning, and what led you to living a life that makes you a recipient of a Tommy Gifford Award. Maybe living a life that, for you, Mike Holliday, that carves out a niche for you to eventually become a, award-winning writer, photographer, a professional guide. I mean, you've written and photographed for the likes of ESPN. You were a editor of the saltwater magazines, and you've written for the Miami Herald and the Palm Beach Post, and you've been up and down inside of this industry, doing seminars and everything, and just an absolute legend of a spokesperson for the clean water movement and just for the coastal fisheries revitalization, and 100% a champion in that realm.
And long-term associations, long-term with the brands that he uses, and like Mike's been with the same people for so long, and that says a lot about a guy in this business. When you have those connections for that long, and I've known Mike at least since the early '90s, maybe a little before, and always on point on issues and on the fishing grounds, always on point, and a great spokesman for our industry, no question about it. When I lived in Stewart, I mean, Mike was, one of the key guys that you kind of looked at him and, man, what's Mike doing? Yes, he's good. And he also carries the message properly, and his heart's in the right place. And skull,
I think all of us are just trying to make a living doing what we love, man.
Well,
for sure.
Right?
I think there's one thing too that about all this. Not one of us at this table has, started this career because they say, "Oh, we're going to go. I'm doing this because I'm going to go win an award." You don't do that. You get up and you go to work every day.
Or make a lot of money.
And or make but you get up and you go to work every day, and and I'm sort of looking like Ray. No one can challenge Ray's fishing ability, but he's done all the other stuff too. He has a different business now. He's in the tackle business and doing things and innovating products. Mike, writing, TV, a little bit of this, and issues. Mike's been an incredible force in water issues, in fisheries issues and everything in our state, in our region, in South Florida and everything. I've done a few different things in my career, and I think that those are the things that get you there. When we found out that we were getting an award, I called Ray first. When I called Ray to congratulate him, and he goes, "Does this mean we're getting old?" That was the first thing he said. I'm like, God, no,
not at all.
No, we're not there yet.
I thought that was just for old guys.
Yeah, that's what he said. I was laughing.
I'll tell you one thing though. I've been to quite a few of the legendary captains awards, and what I really notice about every one of them, every single person that stands up to speak talks about conservation.
Sure.
Every single one of them. They've all seen the changes in their lifetime. They've all seen the things they love, go in the wrong direction. And every single one of them, without exception, talks about conservation. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
I mean, it tells a lot about the industry. It tells a lot about the people.
Right.
Yeah.
They're stewards.
That's why I opened the show saying that comment. I'm like, man, I'm recognizing that's really what we went right into it. And we talk about conservation every show, in some way, shape, or form. But I love when the shows just start out talking like that, because I can't talk about it enough. I mean, really. I will say one thing, though, to talk about Ray. There was a moment about 15 years ago. It might have been the Fort Lauderdale Billfish tournament, when I was on a boat. It was a Viking, and we were all facing the same way, and you were probably just a couple of clicks down from us, and we weren't catching any fish, but that one boat right there was calling in another one. We're like, how come that boat
Just caught us on a good day.
And like, oh,
You had a lot of good
that's
days,
Ray
bro.
Rosher. That's Ray Rosher. So
Right.
you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They don't all go like that. I could tell you the other side of that coin.
But really, though, thank you guys very
It's
much
a pleasure.
for coming here, and it's my honor to be here with you today. So,
I think that works for all of us. I mean, I'm pretty honored to be sitting here at this
It's
table.
pretty nice. I
these
feel
two
the
guys.
same way.
This is fun. I mean,
And-
we've all been buddies for a long time and everything, and this is fun. I mean, but to be here with Mike and Ray and you and this shit.
Well, we don't
I'm
ever
honored
get to
to-
hang out together, so
Yeah, right.
it's kind of really nice.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
I mean, in a lot of ways, the show is a hangout. I mean,
We all
it's-
work
it's-
too hard.
yeah,
we all
it-
work too hard. I mean, Ray's fishing, making tackle, doing stuff. Mike's up fighting the fight, clean water, doing the things, and he's fishing. And he's running over. I mean, he just read his schedule off to us. Christ, I'm tired.
I'll explain it. How many days off have you had this year?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I've had 5
like not doing stuff.
total days off. 5.
Not much. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm not known for. I'm known for my double double schedule.
I mean, that's just how we work. That's
Yeah.
our ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a farmer. You
Yeah,
do what you
pretty
got
much.
to do. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Farmer never counts his hours, his job,
That's
because it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I'm fishing or working on a boat or whatever, I'm usually having to go home and do the writing or do work, start on the next project if we're doing a refit or building a boat or doing something. It doesn't end, I like that.
But is it work, really? I mean, it's work because you have to be there
Yeah,
and
no,
you have the commitment and the responsibility. But
dude, I love
when
it.
you're doing what you love,
I love it.
it's the time goes by. It's not, you're never looking at the clock.
You know what's funny? When you made the old comment, I sat there and I thought, man, at some point, is this going to run out? Am I going to stop getting the phone calls and not be able to do this anymore? I mean, that's what I started, and I was like, God damn it, Ray, what'd you put that in my head for?
So flip it to the other side for me, real quick. I mean, the very beginning, when you're first starting out, you're young, right? You're incredibly young. You have a passion for this or whatever you want to say, and
No, it was
you
a summer
start seeing
job.
a path. You start seeing a path for saying that this is my vocation and this is my calling, right? And you end up here, right, being honored with the greatest of the greats, right? Rightfully so, well deserving. And this goes for both of you. Take me to the beginning, and knowing the end now. How does that feel? Like, did you ever expect that there to be a pinnacle like this at the end of that rainbow?
Hell no. Hell no. I didn't, no. No, I never would have. I can't even imagine that I'm standing in a position where I'm like Peter Wright, Skip Smith, Bart Garnsey, Charles Perry, the names, Billy Baum, the Omi Tillett. Are you kidding? I have goosebumps right now thinking about it. I do not belong next to those guys in my mind. No fucking way.
You do, though.
I don't, and I just, those guys. Those were my heroes. And did I try to emulate them? Yeah, I worked my ass off so that I could, and getting to know them all and work with them, and like being just Christ. I'll be honest with you, just being on the committee with those guys is enough for me to be like, holy shit, I'm with these greats.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you 100% no, I don't think I hold the candles that they hold, and I really don't. I don't believe that I do. I got up and went to work every day.
I know you as a very good friend, and I know you as one of the most humble people that I've ever met in my entire life, right? I'm not saying that just because of what you just said, but I'm just saying that for context, because as you're going through this path of accomplishment and achievement throughout your entire career, I doubt you're thinking, man, I'm gonna be recognized one day. I'm gonna be, you know what I mean? So I think when you receive this award, I mean, where does that put you in your head?
But no one, I said it. No one starts out and say I'm going to go do this to win an award, right? Like I got up to go fishing because I love to go fishing. I want to go see that blue marlin bite. I want to go chum those bluefin tunas and go to Cat Key and and be on the edge and look for them and hunt for them and everything. And I think for me that was the goal, was to get to the next good spot. Go to Australia, go to St. Thomas, go to Cat Key, go here and there, and still be in Stuart, Florida, and go catch a nice snook once in a while, and have fun doing that, or go to New Jersey and go catch a fluke, and have a good dinner, and then be there for striped bass and this and that. To me, it was about going to places and seeing the things and being with friends and people. That drove me. That's what drove me. Honest. That's what it was all about. It's the people.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my whole career on the boats, it was the boat, the people, the fish. The fish was the last part. Take care of the boat, maintain the asset, make sure that it's always clean, happy, running good, and everything's cool so you can get where you're going and not break down. Then take care of the people, make sure they have fun time, they got their drinks, they got it, whatever, you're telling them jokes, you're having a good time. And you know what? Those became lifelong friends. Lifelong friends.
Sure.
And then the fish come. If you catch 1 or 20, everybody's had a good day. And the harder you work at those things, the fishing gets better too. You get better at fishing, you start to figure it out, and you're working harder to catch those fish because all the other stuff is in line.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've talked about that a few times too, like the people that you're fishing with, the moments that happen on the boat, and the good days aren't necessarily the days when you catch the most fish. It's when you catch the most laughs,
catching that kid his first
the most
fish,
smiles,
right? I mean, or a person who's like, I just want to catch a saltwater fish. Yeah. And they've come to, and you're taking them out, and like they've caught all these freshwater fish, and guy looks at it and he says, these saltwater fish, every one of them will hurt you. And he catches his first saltwater fish, and he's just like having fun. And I know Ray knows this. Ray's been in the charter business, man. He knows the charter mentality, and I grew up charter fishing, and it was all about how you handled the people. And I figured out real quick, when I was 13 years old, and the more I did for the people, the bigger my tip was.
Yeah.
And so the harder I worked and made sure that we caught something and we had a good time, because the captain would, he was up on the bridge and doing his duty. He wasn't engaged. He wasn't with the people, and that was where it was all about. It was the people. And these guys both have had incredible, successful careers chartering. You know why? Because they know people,
right?
And they take care of the people. That's what it's all about.
It's the entertainment business.
Fucking 100%.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
People are looking to escape and to have a good time. And if catching the fish is the bonus. They really want to see a part of the world that you see every day, that you take for advantage. A dolphin swimming by. I see a dolphin every day. And how many times have you been out where people are like, look, it's a dolphin.
Listen,
it's a turtle.
I've turned the boat so that we can be closer to them.
But that's
so
important. You fish with people. You fish with a lot of people of different skill sets. And people that are amazing anglers, people that are not very good anglers. But when people see what you see, like when they go, that was fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And you turn around and you just smile at them. Like, I thought it was cool too, man.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Or they catch something and they're just so stoked. You feel so good for that person. It happens a lot for me with older anglers who I know are kind of aging out of fishing, and even just kind of go just so they can be back on the water and see the things that they remember from when they were younger. And they catch a fish and they're just so happy. It makes me feel so good. It's like, this is why I do this.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We had Mike and Eric Leach on for our Father's Day edition episode, and Mike told a story how they were running some kids tournament out of the IGFA, and there was this one kid who had never been offshore ever, and they had their awards afterwards, and I guess Mike had talked him into doing the tournament. And afterwards, the kid ran up to Mike and he said, "That was the best day of my life. That was awesome. It was incredible." And Mike was he's like, "Really? What'd you catch?" He goes, "Nothing."
But it was
great.
But it was still amazing.
Yeah,
he saw
but he
things
still had like the greatest day of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought that was a pretty cool story.
Listen, there's been a lot of days when we take people kite fishing, and I know, that's the guy. He's the kite fishing guru of all.
Yeah.
And you take people that have never done it before, and you look, and they're like, kites. By the end of the day, they're like, wow. Just seeing the operation. Yeah. They don't have to catch anything. They've just seen the kite fishing.
Into that.
They're like,
the orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got 3 baits over here, you got 3 baits over there, you got a couple baits down long, you got somebody up on the bow casting, you got shit going on.
Yeah.
And people are just like, this is like, overload, sensory overload.
You've got
and
the
bait
captain up on the bridge or the tower, just calculating everything.
So Ray, come on, man.
Kite fishing, you're one kingfish, a hammerhead, and a sailfish away from like life-changing experiences. One king skies, one hammerhead circles, and a sail eats a bait. You're done.
We're getting a tip.
Good. That's amazing.
We're getting a tip.
Those are 3 things that every day.
I still enjoy that.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, I always say that the charter business is the greatest gift that ever came to my life, because everybody that shows up they didn't get there because they're dummies. 90+% of the people have a level of intelligence probably superior to yours, yet they are there just to have fun.
Yeah.
So almost all my crew started as mates, as my deckhand, green.
Right.
Like I have a half a dozen guys now, and 5 of them started as, just fresh. And I tell them all, you can't be in the business for the kind of wealth that most people look at. It's, there's wealth that pays your bills, but the wealth that we're going to enjoy is the wealth that won't fit in your wallet.
Amen.
And they kind of look at you kind of funny. I go, almost everywhere that I go in the world at this age, I'm visiting people I fished with. I go on a hunting trip, I'm going with Joe or Bob on their ranch.
100%.
I go fishing, I go with Curly down in Bermuda. I go, they're all people. Curly chartered me. That's how I met him.
Yep.
And all of these things give you riches that are way beyond what money can buy.
There's no
and
question.
that's the gift that charter fishing has given me.
It's the real
Yeah.
wealth.
It's sharing joy and knowledge and experience. I mean, yesterday I fished Ivanka Trump. I mean, how do you, and she was unbelievably kind and graceful, and her little boy's birthday, and, caught a few fish. And I wrote her, it was a slow day, and I wrote her today, I'm really disappointed. I'd like to charge you half price because I'm supposed to deal with her assistant, and she wrote, her assistant wrote me back and said, no, they had a wonderful time. And that's a good example of what I'm saying. Here's somebody that has, the world is their oyster, right? They can buy anything, do anything. And what was a slow day for me was a great day.
It was an amazing day for
right.
them.
And that's the point I'm making, is that you realize how fortunate we are to see that on a daily basis and share things, experiences like that with people that in many cases have opportunities greater than we do.
Yeah.
But it's taken us all around the world. I mean, I got to fish with Peter Wright. He gave me the opportunity to can you bring a client or two to fill in when he was getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I made one phone call to a guy that had chartered me from South Carolina. He took the whole block of time, and here we go. And, next thing you know, I'm on the Great Barrier Reef for a week with Peter getting trained. And then I'm going in and out to Cooktown.
Yeah, you're
like, wow, how did I get here?
Yeah, how did I get? Yeah.
And I can't even tell you what a life-changing event that was. And I know I'll probably never get there again. And I'm 61.
Yep.
But wow. And I could go on, just story like that after story of Africa and, different countries. You've traveled more than me.
100%.
And I know you've been in a lot of places. And those are the gifts that are so much greater than money. And not to mention the quality of the people.
Yeah.
95+% of the people I would go to dinner with after we fish. Very few people, because we're just fortunate to be, I guess, after a while, you kind of get to a point where the good people refer good people, and it just kind of goes like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of quality people, I'm going to interrupt this real quick because there was someone that I promised that couldn't be here today that wants to be part of the show for at least a few minutes here. If you'll just indulge us here for a second, we're gonna call him right back. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, it's him. That's good, Karl. You're safe.
The voicemail of Dennis Friel.
He's
I'm
such a
connected
liar.
by water. Sorry, I can't take your call right now because I'm too busy talking to Mike Myatt. What's going on, brother?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How you guys doing?
Well, I know I always jokingly say living the dream, but actually, technically, I am right now. So we got Karl and Mike and Ray at the table, and we're obviously indulging ourselves with some Papa's Pila rum. How you doing? Where are you at?
I am right now staring at the Bridge of Lions at downtown St. Augustine. It's colder than a stepmother's kiss up here. And just sort of chilling out. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to say hey to 3 of my favorite people.
Hey.
So, hey guys, what's going on?
What am I, chopped liver?
No.
You're out.
No. You got to let me finish, dude. You cut me off all the time.
I love you, Mike.
You and Carlene are staples in my life. I love you too. So, but first off, congratulations, Ray. Well-earned honor, dude. I remember years ago, tears in your eyes when I had bagpipers playing at the IGFA Offshore World Championship when you went out and smoked them 2 years in a row, brother.
Yeah, that was special.
Charmaine was pregnant. She had her head down all day, rigging ballyhoo before they even knew what ballyhoo was down there.
Yeah, it was special, man.
Hey, Kyle Anderson over there.
Hey, Mike over there. What are you doing up? You
Hey,
going over to
Jesus
Nova
Christ! You know what? I went up to Brownville Junction there to look at some leaves, and Jesus, I got up there, and there they were gone.
I'm telling you
With
right
all
here.
that wind.
You go up there to Dover Foxcroft, you're going to walk away with some shoes, you know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, you go up there to, I got some Sebagos on right now. Don't tell anybody I screwed over Mr. Dexter, Mr. Alphonse.
Come on now.
Say, Mike Holiday, the Mexican
Oh,
returns.
my
What
God.
is going on?
We're all
You know,
just hanging
just
like a
in-
bat, man.
Just in your honor, I didn't know what was going to be going on up here in St. Augustine, but I did take a liberal coat of Ultra Glide and put it on my shins in case I got stuck in the mud.
That's a good thing, bud. Don't eat the rock candy in the urinal. It's not worth the damn.
It's not candy.
Just never know. Oh, by the way, it's rocking up here, Mike. I got you 2 of those big mints out of the bathroom.
Oh,
I'll send them
excellent.
to you. Nice. But anyway, you guys, I'm in the middle of a state sales meeting, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to tell you guys how proud I am of you, and can't wait to see you guys next week.
Yeah, man.
And it's going to be a blast. In Hollywood, it's always too infrequent, but I'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, come stay at the house. Love you, Mike.
You know what? I'd like nothing more than to have you cook for me. Actually, let's go to that place and get that Reuben. Where was that place? That place is
Reuben
awesome.
sounds amazing.
King Neptune.
But-
King Neptune. Right on the corner. Downtown Port Salerno. Got to wear your white boots over there, Mike. The Salerno slippers, you got to have them on over there.
Hey, Jesus Christ, Kyle. You know what? I don't go anywhere without them. I've got them on right now. People looking at me like I got 2 heads.
Well, the good news is you can take the back legs of the sheep and put them right in there to keep you in the position, mate.
Well, the only bad part about sleeping with a sheep like that, Kyle, is you got to walk around all the way to the front just to kiss them.
And so,
You guys keep going, or what's going on?
We're done.
Conceding defeat, or what?
Mike, I'm done.
It's a good thing I've only been at a happy hour for an hour and a half.
We're all turned red.
It's
cow.
one of the guys' birthdays that's with us. And evidently they think, because he weighs 400 pounds and I weigh like 160, he can drink more tequila than me, which is incorrect.
Hey,
His assumption is incorrect.
Mike, that kind of sounds like when we were in China and they brought in the sleeper cell to try and take us out, and that was a bad mistake. We had a Norwegian, a German, and 2 beer drinkers. We heard them. We heard them bad.
They brought in this guy that we referred to as Ho-John. And so the guy owned the Mercedes dealership there, and he's a pretty big fella. And he come in and they're doing this OVA, which when they say OVA, they say in the back of your chair, you get up, you do a shot of some gasoline tasting liquor that they like to drink over there. But those guys never drink it. Because all they want to do with Americans is get you drunk enough to drill a hole in your head and suck out the part of the brain they want. And
Seems
so they
logical.
brought this guy Ho-John in.
That explains the whole.
They wanted to do a drinking contest. So they picked, first we got Jason and Rob over there, who are, beer drinkers. But then they picked me and Karl. Okay, so the guy came over, and they've got 2 glasses and 2 quarts of beer. Remember that, Karl?
I do.
I grabbed
Absolutely.
a quart. I looked at him, and he grabbed the quart. He turned absolutely ghastly greenish white. And I said, "Ova."
Over.
And I had that thing down before he even turned green.
Yep.
So and then they had to face Karl. It's like
It wasn't pretty.
I think they went belly up, Karl.
It wasn't
I don't
pretty.
think that they
They didn't.
And then-
They had no idea the Germans and Norwegian IGFA contingent was going to be there because we heard them.
Rookies.
So then they did the other dumb American trip where they have this big lazy Susan in the middle of the table, and they boil all the chicken. They take a perfectly good chicken and chop it up in these little freaking pieces so that you're going to get bones. Everybody's chain smoking at the table while they're
Except
eating.
us. Yeah.
And they spin the wheel, and the chicken head is looking at me, this boiled freaking chicken head. And they said, no, that's good luck. That's good luck. You have to eat it now.
Sounds like a
knowing
charter
full
boat
well any person in their right mind wouldn't. And I wasn't in my right mind, and I crunched that baby right down.
And they said somebody
Put it
finally
this
did it.
They put their cigarettes out then. So anyway, I hope you guys have a blast tonight.
right.
Miss Carlene, thank you for taking care of the men.
Love you, Mike.
Yeah, love you, buddy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Listen, you guys have a great time. I'll see y'all next week, and have a blast, man. I got to tell you, I really wish I was there.
Yeah,
We wish you were here, too.
Well,
You
you brought
too.
it strong, Mike. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
That's it.
All right, you guys.
Say hi to the boys for me.
You guys I will for sure. You guys have a great night.
Yep. See
All
you
right,
soon, brother.
bye.
Thanks.
One of a kind.
One of a kind.
No doubt.
We have.
He's been looking forward to that call all day. He I talked to him 3 times already.
I mean, talk about like making stories. I mean, when you go with Myatt, I don't care. Like everybody has stories with Myatt.
Everybody.
'Cause
Everybody's been out of the country with
he's
mine, I
Myatt.
think,
Everybody's
too.
been out of the country with Myatt. I mean, Panama. We kid Mike. We were in China because Mike's New England accent. We were in China. I would go over there to China. Oh God, we had so much fun. It was an interesting deal.
Yeah, I mean,
It was serious. We're making jokes of it right now, but it was a very serious trip because we were there, for Chinese government trying to promote recreational fishing
right.
and conservation. Because if you went fishing in China, you weren't allowed. You couldn't, recreational fish in China.
You got to kill everything.
It was
bring home.
always for protein, so it was all commercially driven, and which I get it. But at the point when we were there, they were starting to let people go out and like catch fish for fun, right? And so they were trying to create a boating business, trying to create marinas, and trying to do all this stuff. And the whole idea that we went over there through IGFA was to promote, a responsible recreational fishery and look at infrastructure and try and advise them on how to do so, always with the caveat that, look, you have to manage the resource. So it was Rob Kramer, who was president at the time, Jason Stratweiser, who is today's president, but at the time he was science director. So his thing was science. Rob was policy. Mike was kind of like overseeing the whole thing, and he's the one that set the trip up, and his deal was like how to set up the business end of it, and I was there to evaluate marinas and boat building places and look at all that and make recommendations and tell them stuff. So we had to write reports and do all this stuff, but we were in Beijing, and I mean they drug us around like show ponies, man. I mean, you talk about doing a trip where we didn't have a break. I mean, 6 a.m. till midnight, 1 o'clock, and and of course they're we got all these dinners and all this stuff, and they're wanting to entertain us, and they were wonderful. I mean, like the only problems that countries have with each other is politicians. Honest to God, because we're all just the same people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're all just people. We had a great time. Like it was dudes that wanted to go fishing. Like we had this one guy, great dude. We called him Odd Job, because he'd come over and he's just like,
Job.
he's just come over and he's like, so you fishing? How do I do this? He's asking questions. Like they just want to go fishing like us, right? It was not.
That's what we say all the time, Karl. We're
Like,
all connected by
wherever
water, dude.
We are, dude. And
and that's why we say it. That's why we freaking name this.
Unbelievable.
Like it crosses political barriers, right? It's like you get people on the water, you get people fishing together, all that shit goes away.
Politicians, man, they're the ones. They're
All
the
that
problems
goes
in the
away.
world. They're the problems in the world. They really are. They create all the problems in the world. Politicians.
You get no argument from me.
Because we're all just people, man. And I'm telling you, no matter where I go in the world, there's commonality, and I have no, you get back what you put out. If you put out good stuff, you're going to get good stuff back, and you're going to have a good time with those people.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way it is.
Every international
travel a
tournament.
lot.
Yeah, every international tournament I've ever fished, the IGFA Championship, Club Nautico San Juan. You just meet the most
St.
amazing.
Bart's.
Yeah.
We were in St.
St.
Bart's,
Bart's
remember?
together, yeah.
Yeah,
Those experiences really stick with you because you meet people that you end up becoming friends with.
100%.
And travel. Like when I was fishing with Peter, I ended up going to Robin Bodo-Muche's house in Brisbane. I met them in Cabo.
Right.
And we stayed at their house, and they showed us the koala bears and the stags and the, just Man, those are the riches. And that's what I mean. It's not, we've all fished all kinds of special people. But the point is, the specialness is maybe not even famous people, just cool people.
Yeah.
Really nice
People that get it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the connection.
I mean, for me, one of the things I'm most proud of is that I've been so lucky to have great owners that I worked with, like Mark O'Brien, 30 years. It's one of my best friends. Like I talked to Mark today twice.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Duncan, Rob Fondren, and his wife Carol, and Carlos and Leslie, and John, John Richardson and Susie. You know, like all the people that I've been lucky enough to work with, they're my great friends.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
Like I go do stuff with them, and we travel together, and we've done these trips. Like we go hunting, we do whatever.
You should be paying them. You know,
They're 100%.
really.
Yeah,
That's true.
really.
No, really,
true.
like and like you said, that's the riches.
That's the riches. Yeah.
And like they're the ability to go do things that you couldn't do on your own.
Yes.
Well, you
And
know why
see
that
things
is,
get
man?
done,
It's
you
like
know?
y'all have like-minded passions. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at even what we do here with like all the custom artwork and all the apparel programs and all the different crap that we do like that,
Yeah.
you know, the commissioned artwork and everything like that. Well, they're stepping into your world and they're asking you to do something for them.
Yeah.
But you're creating your passion together. You can't help but become friends after
Yeah.
that. I mean, seriously, like if you look at all, like we've been doing this forever, right? But if you look at all the people that we've done, I've gone fishing with so many of them, and you establish relationships with these people, and it's just like you become their artist or whatever. But it's like you become their friend, and that's the best part of the business for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is,
No question.
100%,
Yeah.
because that to me helps make it all make sense.
Yeah.
To me, you know, and that like when I said earlier when I made the comment, oh, you don't think about the money and everything like that, or worrying about the make of the money, and to play off of what you said, that's the same thing. Like, you know, it matters more to me that happens, because if I was going to go off and I was going to start my own business, and let's say the insurance business and everything like that, that's not going to happen there.
No, you might make more money, probably make more money, but the question is, and that's what I tell the young mates when they get on the boat.
But it's more like the riches that you're talking about that matter more.
Yeah, so you got to ask them the question: what's your long-term goal? And if it's to really aspire to financial greatness, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
And it's not that you don't make a living, but you're certainly not ever going to be like most of the clients that charter you.
For sure.
And it's a choice. And so the choice is, what's your expectation in life? What do you consider success? Defining success is the answer to your question. And for me, success, I still wake up before my alarm goes off. That's how I know I'm happy. I set my alarm for 5, usually about 4:45. I wake up and I look, it's time to get up. And that makes me happy, because I know I'm ready to go.
Just because money doesn't equal success.
Correct.
And it's to your point, right? Like,
Money's not real.
dude, it's
Boom.
It's not. It's this
it gets you where you got to go.
fictional thing
That's
that
Pays your light bill.
It gets you where you got to go.
that,
Fuel bill.
that people
But,
want. And,
like-
but when you sit down at Thanksgiving dinner, you don't talk about how much money you made
Nope.
this year.
Right.
No.
Where'd you go?
You talk about
What-
time with friends and like really good experiences.
Oh man,
you
I
had.
got to go fish with Holliday. Man, we caught 30 blackfins on the
Or
Rankin
even
rig.
something stupid,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? No,
Yeah.
seriously, that's what it's.
Yeah.
You know, you can't put a price on pleasure. We're in Cat Key. We're in anyway. We're tuna fishing. I'm in a little 42 Merritt. The cat's me out. Charles Perry's there. Captain Johnson bonus. Bill Spoler, the owner. You know, guy never graduated high school and everything, but he had a successful company making injection molded parts. So like he made all the gears for like IBM typewriters and shit, little micro gears and stuff. Anyway,
Thank you.
we catch a nice tuna on the edge. Had a good day. You know, I think we caught 2 or anything. Anyway, we bring one in to give the folks in Bimini a tuna, and you know we pull in, and of course there's a big show, and you know Patrick is there. He's sharpening his knives, and all the natives come down. Oh man, there's a tuna over there. We gotta give me a piece of tuna, and all stuff. Patrick starts carving the tuna, and this lady comes up, and she's watching the whole show, and it's a show. We're pulling it out and holding it up. We're getting our picture, and they're like waiting for the knives, man. They're like, and they're taking spoons and getting every last piece of meat. And this lady is a visiting Bimini, an American, obviously, and she walks up and she asks Bill, the owner, and she says, "How much did it cost to catch that fish?" And he's standing there on the deck, hosing the blood off the deck, and looks up at her and he says, "Can't put a price on pleasure."
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a dude who just paid the whole bill for the 60 days we're in Bimini doing it every day.
Wow.
Right? And he's a deer hunter, so we're up early in the morning. We were leaving the dock at 7:30, which in Bimini you don't leave the dock till 9 for tunas because there's no light. But Bill's a deer hunter, and so we're down on the boat early, and we're going every day. We did not take a day off.
Wow.
Did not.
Back in the old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were there to tuna fish. And it could happen any day. Even the days when it's cloudy, it's rainy. We're gonna blind troll. We're gonna do something. But he turned around and looked at her, and Charles Perry and I were up there. We're doing our shit on that. And both of us looked at each other, and we were like, "Wow,
Yeah.
that is why we're here.
Yeah. Right.
Like that dude is paying us to be here, and I'd have written him a check if I had the money,
Yeah.
just to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money at the time. I was at college. I couldn't buy sneakers for Christ's sakes unless he gave. He paid us in advance. That's how good of a deal. Before we left Merritt's, I had my check for the whole month.
Wow.
He paid us in
wild.
advance. That dude was committed
Wow.
and a great guy and a great friend. He still is. But that's the statement of life for me. Like you can't put a price on pleasure or something like that. And we all have clients like that. And that's
Yeah.
Well, and I think the client wanting you to come do things with them, they come and see you and you show them a piece of, like, almost the soul of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have something special they want to show you. Like, they appreciate you showing it to them. They want to show you this now.
there's
Like,
reciprocation.
you need to come here to Texas and see this
Yeah.
mule deer running through this,
Yep.
through the mesquite. It's insane.
Yep.
And you go there and you go, wow, I get that.
Yep. 100%. Come to our lease, right? And you're like, it's all new to me, man. Okay. I mean, I grew up waterfowl hunting. I love waterfowl hunting.
I was a passionate waterfowler for a long
love
time.
it, love it. And to go to Texas and go deer hunting, it was like, oh man, really? Like deer hunting, like those deer? I'm like, yeah, man. When can I come? Like those are the things to me that's like, holy crow! I couldn't go do it on my, because what do I know? I'm just a freaking mullet gutter. You know what I mean? And it's not in my wheelhouse. But those folks make that available to us, and that's so great.
Very
I
fortunate.
had an old saying, "Don't invite me, because I'll show up."
Yeah, because I'll be there. Yeah.
I was wearing a Browning hat one day. This is 35 years ago, and a guy comes up to the bridge and he goes, "You like to hunt?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "You need to come to my ranch in Montana." And I said the line, "Don't invite me." He goes, "No, I'm serious. I'm single and I'm on this ranch, and if you got to get drawn." So I applied, I got drawn. He sends me a map. This old days, topo map. And he says, "Memorize this map because I can't babysit you." I said, "Okay." So I get there, and he basically the next morning rolls open. I think we're going to get in a Jeep. It's a Cub. He's a search and rescue pilot, and he flies his 43 square mile ranch in a plane. And I swear to God, he flew me up on a bluff, and we landed. He's got the big tires, and just landed. And there's the Missouri River and the confluence of the Judith and the Missouri, and there's a Lewis and Clark landing.
Lewis and Clark
I
were
was
right
just
there.
about to say Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
You
And
caught
then
me to it.
He goes, "You see anything unusual?" And I'm looking around, and it's all this rugged country. And I look over, I go, "What are those rocks?" And he goes, 3 teepee rings. Never forget it. Dan Todd was his name. He's the brother of Christy Todd Whitman.
Wow.
And
Governor of New Jersey.
yeah, and I had fished her prior.
Gotcha.
So, I just kind of ended up fishing with him one day, and he changed my life. He just passed away, and his obituary is that long. He was the, Frontier Airlines, blah, 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 blah. If you read his obituary, he's one of the most special people in the world, and yet he opened his arms to me, and just those are the riches, man. And special.
It's funny you mentioned that as kind of like a mark in history with the whole Lewis and Clark thing, because we always said that at the very beginning of the show, like even before the show started, one of the things that we always wanted to do, because we felt it was important. Me being like a history buff, it's always been a passion of mine, and I love that you mentioned that because it made me think of this. We felt like we had a responsibility to record history on this show. And if you can imagine if the long conversation format, like the podcast format, was a thing in like the 80s and the 90s, and then we'd have your Peter B. Wrights, your Bob Lewis's on record, like
Alan
when
Merritt.
kite fishing was becoming a thing and then they were developing. Imagine if we would have had that on a podcast. I mean, that'd be great, right?
Yeah.
So we felt like we had a responsibility, like, all right, let's catch that tiger by the tail now, and try to do that now. This is why you guys are here today, because this is what we're doing. Yeah. We said when we started the podcast 4 years ago, So we started off the first episode with Captain Vinny LaSorsa as they were building the last mango. And we're like, well, that's perfect. That's the perfect way to start that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought that was a really important first episode that we did at that moment. So today we're here with you guys recording that history as well. For Ray, does any of this about the Tommy Gifford aspect to you cause you to retrospect like a lot how your career started out and where you become now?
Yeah, it's words can't describe the memories that have flooded back. It's going to be hard to make it through with dry eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, oof. Yeah. Just because it forces you to slow down and think of the people that helped you get there. And that's really what it's all about. Like the stories that I just mentioned and fishing this person or that person, that's not bragging. That's thanking.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my
correct.
effort
Amen.
to say thank you to those people for giving up a day of your life or a week or whatever it is to share amazing experiences with all of us. All of us have had those experiences, and that's my point in telling. It's not to brag and say I have a great life. There's a lot of work in between. But the point is the gifts that these people have given you far surpass anything you've given them. And that's what this award has done, is made me really reflect on the whole journey, starting with my grandfather and my dad, and going thank you, and realizing how lucky we were to be in the right place at the right time. My dad bowled with Bob Lewis on Thursday nights. Jimmy Lewis was at the bowling alley. We were almost the same age. Next thing you know, I'm flats fishing with him on the weekends. His dad would dump us off at Crandon Marina and say, 5 p.m., boys, do not be late. And, we're like 15 years old. We couldn't even drive. Next thing you know, we're in his cockpit. And then the next thing you know, he has the heart transplant. So Jimmy gets elevated, 18 years old, running the boat. I'm 17. Next thing you know, his daughter, Linda, is dating Bill Harrison. We get the chance to go to Key West for a summer with 2 bandits, tile fishing, snowy groupers, dolphin hand lines. And just that Bill would answer a question with a question. So Bill is super brilliant. Bob was a drill sergeant. Bill was soft and introspective and kind, and just took me around the world. I've been to Africa. I've been all over St. Thomas in the 90s and 80s even, and fished with Ralph Christensen. And all these things are just part of a journey that when you're so busy trying to make ends meet and try to meet the schedule and fix the boats and all that, it all becomes a blur. And then suddenly somebody makes you stop and say, how'd you get here? And the tears have flowed so many times for me.
No question.
Because I'm so thankful to those people that gave me a chance when I was a worthless little kid. Those are just the amazing gifts that have been given to me, and I thank all of those people. And that's really what I'm going to be doing that night, is saying thank you to Harry and Cindy Shufflebarger and all these people that I got to fish with, Nick Smith, Kit and Peter. Just the list goes on. All of us have these lists of people that are special in our life, and that's what I think the award is really meant to do, is allow us to give credit to the people that gave us a chance when we did not probably deserve it. That's the important thing to remember. And that's the message I want to send to, I'm going to have a lot of my young mates and captains there. And that's the ending of my talk, is how to slow down and appreciate all those things.
Well, when you say they gave you a chance when you didn't deserve it, I don't agree with that. I think there aren't shortcuts in life. I think your work ethic and who you are as a person stands you out in front of people. That gives you the opportunity, and they see something in you that's like, this guy could.
All I meant is you didn't have the credentials.
Oh yeah,
but you had the work ethic. That. And maybe
there's only one way you get the credentials. And again, there's no shortcuts.
If without them, you didn't get the chance.
Everything.
There are no shortcuts.
Well, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
That's
right?
it.
I mean, that's what they say.
But that's what the people like my dad and my grandfather and Bob Lewis, Bill Harrison, those are the guys that taught you the most important things in life, and that is honesty, integrity, punctuality, work ethic, doing what you say you're going to do, and just also being humble enough to ask questions and not try to, when you get a little bit of knowledge. My son's writing his college essays right now, and he's worked for me on the boat for a few years, and I made him include that. I reminded him, you got a little experience under your belt now, and we've done good in a few tournaments together. Don't forget that you got to it's taught you to listen. He was talking about teamwork, on his college application. And I go, remember, no experienced captain or angler wants to hear a young kid lecturing. And those are all the things that the next generation, that's what we can hopefully do, is hand that bit of knowledge off and kind of what it takes to be a man or good at what you do on the boats or whatever,
Yeah.
Or a woman. I've had 3 female mates, some of the best times in my life with them. And, great journey.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
That's awesome.
And I can tell you, every one of us sitting here has made our mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And
You and I talked about one I made recently earlier today.
it's all good. That's, but like, that's, that makes you tears come to your eyes and go, how could I be such a dumbass? My dad, my dad obviously was, huge influence and got me fishing and everything. And he was the natural fisherman. I wasn't. He was. But he used to look at me sometimes, and we joke about it now because he wasn't meaning it the way it said, but he looked at me, how can you be so goddamn dumb? And we laugh about it in our family today, but at the time he was just looking at me and going like, think about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes that goes a long way. And when you screw up, you got to go, okay, you got to figure out that, and own up to it and move on. And God, it makes you better.
Yeah, failure makes us better. All
Without
the fish
God,
I
it
lost.
makes you better.
Yeah, the fish I lost in tournaments. I fished the Miami Billfish 19 years before I won it. Had the winning fish opportunity 5 times. And the 5th time we won it, I called my dad in tears. Said I finally did it.
Yep.
We did it.
Yep.
And the funny part was, I of course analyzed a lot those other 4 times. And most of it was me freaking out and freaking everybody else out, because I know that's the fish. I need that one. And I just start shouting too many orders and panicking and moving the boat, doing things that I would not normally do. And, those are the things that teach you to calm down, treat it just like another fish.
Freaking out there. So you talked about it earlier. We put the headsets on and you go, God, I feel like I'm on an 80-footer.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time a little bit and remember before headsets and shit, we had smaller boats.
Yeah.
Like we had 42 merits, 46 merits per day. But, you're in a tower tuna fishing and then we got a microphone that had a speaker, a hailer, hailer speaker.
Yeah.
And you get to talk. But Danny Bear, ran a bushwhacker for John Sadowski, had a wireless mic and he could talk into it and there was a speaker down there.
Wow.
And so Barky Garnsey adapted it for fishing with Stewart and doing record fishing. I saw that, and I'm a sound guy, and I knew how to get the microphones and everything. I said, I got that, baby. We went over, and I put the microphone on, and we didn't have this stuff. And I still think that the way we do it without these is better, because when the mate goes to grab the wire, and he's got these on, he's not hearing what's happening with the boat, and you're taking stuff away.
Yeah, you're not hearing what's in front of you.
Natural stuff, but like. That's that ability to calm everything down.
Yes.
And not yell and scream.
Yeah. Oh,
right? Yeah. Comes from, and I had my earpiece. I said, okay, guys, here we go. And I fished Carlos Pellis in Madeira. And I had this thing, and I'm talking, and I'm going, all right, here he comes. He's coming up on the right long. And I'm all right, no, he's looking. Let's try and bring him in. Let's get him into the short. And Carlos is, he's anyway. We get the bite out of this real nice fish. It was the first fish Carlos Pellis had ever caught. He's a great fisherman and everything out of a chair. And at the end of the deal, we catch the fish and everything. He comes out and he's like, "You're the coolest captain I've ever heard." And I go, "Oh, what are you talking about?" He goes, "You didn't yell." And I go, "Well, I don't have to.
Yeah,
I can talk. I can talk to you."
Yeah,
and by the way, I can see everything. Like while we're doing all this, the door underneath the gunnel falls open, and like Tim's grabbing the wire, and I go, Ben. I go, the door on the right side, gunnel door open up, push that away, so that he didn't run over with the wire and run into the damn door fell down.
Yeah.
And you're able to see things and make things happen, but you're not yelling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
all those times I screwed up, I was screaming, and everybody panicked. Right? My boss backlashed the only fish on one of them. He's ever backlashed. he backlashed the winning fish, and I'm driving forwards back in the old J hook days, and I'm pulling ahead to everything's coming tight, and the fish is jumping, and I see him like bent over, and I'm like, what? They go backlash. I go, what? Backlash, pow, and then the fish jumps like 10 times, and you go, oh my god,
You could have backed right
I could have
over
backed
it.
right over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just
And just kept going.
yeah, it's just little things.
But excitement, well, it's just like any situation, like when something's big, as soon as emotion comes in, things go tits up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can just keep emotion down and everything, like, no,
Yeah.
hold on, let's talk about this. Same thing when we're fishing, and that happens. Like, I remember one time being a mate, and we lost a fish, and I took my gloves off and I threw them against the bulkhead, and the people were like freaked out that I lost my shit, and I went, oh my god, I just killed this trip because of the way I reacted. Note to self: catch the next one.
Yeah.
Don't do that ever again. I mean, I'll never that. I mean, I remember it to this day.
Yeah.
I can see that moment where I was like pissed off, and I thought, you idiot.
Yeah.
I really admonished myself on that because it was the wrong thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
It upset people on the boat,
Yeah.
and it just like shut everything down. And I went, dumbass, we're not going to see another fish the rest of the trip. We did, but
Stress
it
is
was
contagious.
the wrong thing to do. It's not how you do. Hey, man, all right, let's go catch another one. And to this day, I have that attitude. I'm like, listen, it happens. They're not nailed on. They're just hooked on.
Yeah.
If we miss them, all right, let's go get the next one. Come on. There's another one to be caught.
Yeah.
Well, what is that? I mean, Coach McDaniel for the Dolphins now, that's like his big saying right now. It's like there's like no losses, only opportunities to get better. I mean, I'm paraphrasing that right there. I can't remember verbatim what he actually said, but it's something to that effect. Like, don't look at it as it takes. You have a choice at that point. You can take that and you can get frustrated, or you could use it as a lesson learned.
Yep.
And then say, okay, that's why that happens, because I needed to get pushed to that point to turn that into my life. Going, you know what? If it really affected me that way, did I learn my lesson and did I change it, or are you just going to keep acting in that way? So
I'm just going to walk around the house with headphones now when I'm disciplining my kids.
There you go.
So I'm not going to yell at them. I'm just going to talk really,
I am really
quiet.
disappointed.
right.
You have let me
Very-
down.
They're going to know I'm angry when the headphones go on. It's like, uh-oh, mom's being quiet.
They'll
Just
know what the
talking.
words are. That's great.
Carry a big stick.
Mike, so I want to ask you a question. All right. So you have had a very storied career, right, as a writer, right? Okay, and a photographer, and a guide, right? And retrospectively, going back to the very beginning for you, is this what you envisioned? Because you too are at a pinnacle of this industry, being one of the best of the best.
I was going to be involved in fish. I mean, as a kid, I remember saying I wanted to be a fishing guide. When you went to school and said, "What do you want to do for a living?"
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be a policeman or a fireman. I wanted to be a fishing guide.
Wow.
Okay.
But I went to school for aquaculture, for fish farming,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my degree. And I got out, and I had like 3 job opportunities. I could go to Belize and raise shrimp for $6 an hour, and all the cormorants I could shoot. I could go to Seattle and raise salmon for $6.25 an hour, and all the eagles I could photograph. Or I could go to work on the beach as a lifeguard for, $13 an hour, and all the ways I could surf.
So obviously you became a lifeguard.
I did,
Okay.
and I actually paid my I paid my student loans off from there. And even then, like I loved to fish. That's what I did all the time with all my free time, was I fished.
Mm-hmm.
When I met
And
you, you were a lifeguard. That's true.
and-
That's very true.
falling into the other careers were people who influenced me. I love to fish. I was working in a tackle shop,
Mm-hmm.
and Jan Fote was writing for the Miami Herald, and she came in and she was trying to do a story on snook fishing on the beach, and I was a lifeguard and I snook fished on the beach all the time.
You were a snook dog.
Poor
Henry,
Bob's.
Poor Bob's, right.
Poor Bob's Tackle Shop. And she
Yeah.
came out and did a story with me. And, we talked about, I was very well read. My mom was a curator of the Library of Rare Manuscripts at Princeton University.
Wow.
So I grew up reading a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you seem very...
So wait, you're a Jersey guy?
6 years I lived there.
When?
High school.
High school.
Yeah. So
Where about in Jersey?
North Brunswick,
Okay.
Hightstown in North Brunswick. So I grew up in Miami till I was 12, and
Okay.
I got selected as one of 60 kids for a new program called busing.
I think they're doing that right now, aren't they?
Forced integration. So it's going to be me and 59 other kids, white kids at George Washington Carver Junior High.
Okay.
And my mom, right at that time, got offered a job at Princeton, and we moved to Princeton. And I was there till I was 18, but it's hard to grow up. I grew up running around Matheson Hammock and Tahiti Beach.
Wow.
I grew up, I remember them. I remember crying because I had to wear shoes to school because I never wore shoes to go to elementary school. And, you grow up in bare feet and riding skateboards and all, and you get thrown into New Jersey, which is a cool environment in itself, but such a different environment.
Yeah.
And I was somewhat a little
everyone
towhead
always
kid
makes
that was
fun
a
of New
fish out of
Jersey.
water.
I like New Jersey.
I
My
really
whole
enjoyed
family's
it.
from out there. I'm the youngest of 6. I'm the only one born down here. My wife's from New Jersey. Like, we got roots there. I like New Jersey. I don't know.
Educationally, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Shit.
Opportunity was amazing. I have no regrets at all.
Yeah.
The areas I lived were big farm towns, not cities. The people were amazing. The culture was amazing. The traveling, you get to see so many different things growing up. But I came down. All I wanted to do was get back to Florida, so I went to school for aquaculture, and then I stepped into this job as a lifeguard. I fished with Jan Fote, and she was moving from the Miami Herald to the Palm Beach Post. And the way writers got raises then was you were good enough that another paper swiped you from that paper to hurt that paper.
Right.
So the Palm Beach Post was giving Jan like a 10 grand raise. So she was moving, and she said she'd find somebody for the job. And she kind of came and talked me into it. She said, I think you'd be perfect. And I said, well, I don't write much. And she said, but you know so much about fishing, and you think about it a little differently, and you speak pretty well. Come do a couple dummy articles. And I did that. And there were quite a few people apply for the job, and they picked me based on Jan's recommendation. So that's how I got into writing. And my writing was atrocious. Was
it?
Oh, my God, it was horrible. I look back at some of it.
Emotionally, grammatically, all the above?
All of it. I didn't know how to type. I chicken pecked.
Okay.
One finger chicken pecked. And we wrote on these monochrome computers, word processors. There was no spell check.
Right.
But I had great editors. I had an editor named Rory Clark. I'll never forget her. And she called me up one time at midnight and woke me up and said, hey, the story looks good, but I want to tell you spelled a couple words wrong. You spelled a word wrong. You spelled discarded wrong. And I said, okay, well, how did I spell it? And then I go, that's not right. She goes, no, it's wrong. You need to look up the words. And I go, well, that's what I got an editor for. And that was the wrong thing to say.
Wow.
At that time, I had never heard that profanity come from a woman.
Really?
Oh, my God. She tore me up. But I never spelled a word wrong again.
Yeah.
I would get I had a thesaurus and a dictionary next to me at all times, and I would break it out and look up every single word. And it bred really good habits in me.
Right.
And then as I'm writing, I'm working on the beach, and on my days off, I'm writing for the Miami Herald. And I'm also working at nights in this tackle shop. And the Mets had just built their spring training facility in Port St. Lucie. And Davey Johnson was the manager at the time, and Mel Stoudemire was a pitching coach. And they come in
86 Mets?
Probably 86. Yeah, it was 86. Yeah. That's when I got my captain's license. 86. So they come into the shop, and they want to go fishing. They're asking about guides, and we didn't really have any at the time. And I said, well, I'm going tomorrow. If you guys want to go, you can go with me. And I took them fishing, and we had a good day on the water. I took them out on the beach, and they were throwing topwater plugs at the giant jacks with bait casting, 17-pound test bass outfits. And they both, I told them,
Abu Garcia's.
I said, you got to use, right? I said, you got to use these spinning rods, because they got more line on them. They said, oh, we'll be fine. They each made a cast. They each hooked a fish, and both got spooled. So then they had to use my equipment. But anyway, at the end of the day, we came back, and they said, and Davey pulled me aside. I said, I've fished with a lot of guides all around the country, and you're really good. I mean, you have the personality to be very good. You take the time to point things out, and you're pretty mellow. You really should do this. And I said, I don't think so. I got enough things on my plate right now.
When Davey Johnson says
And
like, you're going to play
Coach
first base,
says,
on my
Coach says
team.
I want to put you
Hey,
in.
dude.
I mean,
And then, by 3 months later, I'm in a captain's course, and I got my license.
nice. All because of Davey Johnson.
Because of David Johnson. Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
awesome.
crazy.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And here you are now.
And I, and I've been really fortunate. I've been all over the industry. I was an editor of Florida Sportsman magazine. I ran marketing for Maverick Boat Company. I worked for Costa. Now I work for Bahio Sunglasses. I mean, I've been doing a lot of stuff in this industry for a long time, and it's almost not like work. It's just things you love. And the fishing side of it, I've never been a full-time fishing guide,
Right.
ever. I fish, 3 days a week or 2 days a week or however many days a week I fish. But, there's a work ethic and there's a style. And I've been fortunate to have a lot of people around me who show me things that, as a writer, you go out, let's say I want to catch big sea trout. Well, I got to find out I'm going to write a story on it. I want to find out who's the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I go fish with the best. And the guy says, well, don't write about this if you don't mind. Don't put this little piece in. I go, okay, but I'm not going to forget it.
Right.
So you learn these things from the best, and you just become better at it. And then you bring them back and apply them to the stuff you do. And, over time, that stuff kind of matriculates and you become better at what you do. And then you start putting it together to where you sort of you see things. You go, okay, you don't look at things as why. You don't catch a fish and go, that was really cool. You catch a fish and you wonder, why is that fish there? And then if you can figure out why he's there, 10 other spots like that, why wouldn't they be there?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go look at those other spots and they're there in the same conditions. And you're just like, okay, I got this.
Nice.
And then your mind kind of goes in that direction. And I think it's the same with the offshore. You start thinking about different reasons that things are happening and where you are. Well, we're over on top of the reef, the ballyhoo, or the flying fish are everywhere, and they're on the edge of the school hunting them. You start figuring it all out, or they're on they're on the powdery blue side as opposed to the clear blue side of the color change. You look at it differently, not the successful guys do, not that we're catching fish, but why are those fish there? And and then you can sort of apply it and then drive from there.
So speaking of looking at things differently, so if the gentlemen that I have here at the table right now have to be looking at things now differently. So if you really consider, and we talked about the innovative days, and if we were able to record history in the 80s and the 90s with the great ones then, and and get their perspective on what's happening now and how it's developing, you guys have had a really great opportunity in your careers to fish at a unique time to where all of the stars were aligned.
We had the best of everything, by far.
Best of everything. You had not the bad environmental
The good
conditions
old days
that
are
we
now.
have now. You had the innovation in fishing that really turned it on, right? And you had not as bad a population down here in Florida. It wasn't really such an overfished community. Take me through that, please. I mean, like what compared to the way things are now, you look at things differently and are like, because let me ask this, put it to you this way. I think the ocean is a very resilient resource. That's what gives me hope that this can bounce back if we respond to it appropriately, right? But looking at it then, looking at it now, do you feel the same way?
I think, nature is cyclical. Spawning seasons come, go. We have year classes that are better than others in species, that we fish for. I think that we have seen things in our time, like the technology in boat building, in engines, in electronics. We have, listen, I remember Loran A when I first started fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and we had, a 671 diesel, which won the war, World War II. And now and we had like fiberglass. Owens Corning came up with this thing called fiberglass, and people started building boats with it. And a lot of the old wood guys who say, if God would have meant for fiberglass boats, he would have had fiberglass trees. But now we have this technology in every aspect of everything we do. Line, hooks. Ray is building tackle now with materials that could have never thought of when we started doing this.
3D printing. Yeah.
The tubes, right? 3D printing. I mean, like we have so many things that make us more efficient.
Right.
So that's the thing. So, like, do you have hope that now is a better time, could be a better time moving forward, or do you think we're past it?
Let's look at fisheries, for example.
Did we peak in the 80s and the 90s as a society in general? I mean, is that it, or are we good moving forward here?
Bluefin tuna were absolutely in a decline in the 80s, right? Like there's no more left. Bluefin tunas are almost a plague now in the ocean.
Well, Andy wrote a really good article recently in Marlin Magazine about that. About the maybe they were just moved to a different place.
Maybe they stayed in the deep water. Who knows? Or they had great spawning, right? And Andy Moyes is one of the most technical, most dialed in guys on every aspect of everything he does. Is like precise. Mm-hmm. He's great. I fished with him. That guy is unbelievable.
He's a machine.
He's a machine, and he's knowledgeable. He knows what's going on. He analyzes everything, and yeah, man, maybe maybe he is right. Maybe the fish went somewhere different. But I do believe there's a cyclical downswing and a cyclical upswing. But we have seen a technological blow up because. When I started going offshore in the late 70s, I mean, like the big boat going offshore was a 46-footer, and we were trolling 2 ballyhoos and 2 finger mullets, like the advent of the trek. You look at what the boats we're building today. Holy crow! I mean, like machines. I've shipped boats to Europe and gone I've done so much different stuff, and I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, wow. But we did it because we had the machinery and the capability to do it. And look at the tackle we use now compared to when you started as a kid, right? Like the reels, the rods, the if you look at what we came up through with technology and every aspect of what we do every day. It's incredible. I mean, we pay homage to those that came before us. I mean, Peter B. Man, I went to Australia. I got Pete. We met in Cat Key and everything, and Pete's like, man, you got to come fish to Australia. And I go,
don't
invite me because I'm going to show up. And he goes, no, I want you to come. I went. I had like 9 cases of gear, video gear, and I went over and I made a documentary.
Wow.
Fishing with Pete.
Wow.
And captured the history that you were talking about because we didn't have podcasts then. But I got up in the tower. I carried a friggin' 14-pound camera and all the shit up into the tower. And I'm there. And I put the mic on Pete. And I said, Pete, you were there in the beginning. Tell me the story. How did this happen? And there's, and we're like, doing this. And Pete gives me the whole story about George Bransford and how he became, how he got there. And then the first mothership and this and that and the other. And it's in the video that we produced for Ed Murray. It's called Australia's Great Barrier Reef Trip of a Lifetime. But
I want to see it.
I captured that.
I do too.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Can you connect me to that?
It's at the IGFA. It's it was a great documentary. It was like really one of the first documentaries done on it. Yeah. And we did pop and plugs behind the reef. Alex Adler and I were gifted Peter B. and the mothership for 7 days because Johnny Morris had to leave early.
Wow.
So we were the gypsies in the palace.
Wow.
And we did this whole deal, and we're going to do a little flipping today, boys. And we got these giant cods coming up and eating like bass on little tackle, and we're breaking them off. Doug Haig, God rest his soul, one of the greatest mates to ever walk the planet of the earth, was there. And Mikey Latham, Peter B., me, and Alex. We had the boat to ourselves for 7 days. And that was 1989. I went back again in 88. I spent 2 months there. And, but even then, we were so limited. We're fishing on a 40-foot game boat, the Dyfkin, one of the greatest game boats to ever friggin' troll any water ever. And, things have just, I don't know. I just think I think the good old days are now. I look at fisheries. I mean, bluefin tuna fishing today is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Blue marlin, I mean, the boys, you see it on social media every day. The Azores blew up in the 90s, 96. It was Madeira with the big fish and light tackle and all the stuff going on, and sailfish in South Florida. Like, we've seen so much come and go and everything, but wow, like, we have resident fish that are here all the time now. It's not this migratory thing. And
Right.
all the science that we, as kids, like, I read every book I could read, like, trying to figure this all out. And, and like, what's going on? And, and it was so unknown. Tagging has brought us so many places and led things, but
Water quality has to improve, though.
Well,
I mean, it
hey,
really
listen.
does. If you look at all the things that we were talking about earlier about the Roundup and how that ends up on the reef and all the other kind of
And you can't.
the medicinal things that are happening now with the reef. I mean, there are some signs that are saying, okay, some of that shit needs to stop because that's not going to be cyclical. But I do understand what you're talking about.
But you can't tell me the tagging and circle hooks and all the other stuff hasn't helped.
Don't get me wrong.
Because we used to hang fish on the dock. When I was a kid, we killed every white marlin that swam.
Right.
I fished Club Nautica when they hung 183 fish. I think it was the record. Some right in there around 180.
Right.
They had semi trucks and they were just loading them in.
And
because they
dumping them.
Yeah, I don't know what they did with them, but they froze them.
Like all the white marlin tournaments when I was a kid. I mean, geez, man, and we were stacked up like you're saying, load them in a pickup truck. I don't know where. They went to the
Boys and Girls Club.
Whatever. But like that whole movement to no, we need to release. We need to save
helped.
this resource. It's helped.
Yeah,
it has helped.
for sure.
Circle hooks help. I mean, like circle hooks came. Like Ronnie Hamlin stood up at the Billfish Foundation with tears in his eyes, said, "I will never fish a J hook again." And I was there, and I had chills. Skip Smith and I, after all this whole thing, we went to work on
definition
we had all these different circle hooks, right? And Skip and I went and we went through this incredibly scientific deal on how to determine what was the right offset and what was where we needed to be to establish the tournament hook. Mm-hmm. And to this day, we're still fishing that hook, and nobody knows that Skip and I spent tireless hours trying to figure this out.
They do now.
You know what I mean? And those are little things that have helped. Water quality today, to me, is the biggest issue because we've done a lot of the other things, right? Like we've tried really hard to, carry out what you carry in. Don't throw your beer cans overboard. Mm-hmm. Bring that shit home. Yeah. Don't throw your bottles overboard. And then we go through the whole deal of, how do we take care of the species? Let's release them. Let's let the snook go. Don't take them home to the grill. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. You don't need to eat 14 snook.
Handle them properly.
Don't kill 25 yellowfin
not even
tunas.
just don't let them go, but just don't put your hands all over them. Don't if it's a bigger one, don't take it out of the water, especially with the tarpon. It's like, come on. There's the education of where we've evolved to is absolutely made a difference.
No question.
But the water quality needs to improve.
Yeah, Tim Choate deserves some credit. He started.
He sure does.
He focuses on protecting bait fish stocks around the world, and Wild Oceans is his organization.
Yep.
And it was the first organization I've seen that really put some emphasis on bait preservation, because if you get down to it, water quality obviously controls, like you were saying, no grass, no trout, etc.
The three things they want: food.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yep.
Steady source of food.
The quantity of food is what really dictates the biomass of fish.
100%.
That's really the deal. And you talk about netting, herring, bunker, all that affects and that's where Canada did such a good job, because they do aerial surveys. And I fished up there with Andy one time, and he said, if I recall properly, it was 10% of the biomass. They would estimate what that is in tonnage, right? And that's it. And they would net them. They would take that biomass. So 90%, which is obviously a very good what's
resilient
the right word?
Number, huh?
Well, yeah, it's the brood stock for the next year, right? Andy told me a couple days ago when I talked to him, it was his last day of fishing, and he said he ran across the bay 20 miles. It was either 15 or 20 miles,
There must
and
have been
saw.
fishing over Port Hood.
He said he saw tunas skying and busting the entire way.
Wow.
How many tunas is that?
Really?
15 miles. It was at least 15 miles. He said he's never seen the numbers.
Well, when you
And
go back,
that goes back to bait, and Canada's done a good job preserving their bait. And there you go. You go in and wipe a
Right.
bay out in Cape Cod, so the predators leave. It's not rocket science.
not rocket science.
I would tell you it's two things. It's habitat, however you
to
want to
support the
describe
bait.
it,
Yeah,
and fisheries management.
yeah.
The third biggest influence on it is fishing pressure, angling pressure, which is certainly on the increase and certainly gotten more efficient. But you have to take the habitat first. If you don't have the food web,
Right,
the fish won't be there.
right.
And we've done a pretty good job of destroying the food web in South Florida. That's for certain. And the management of fish. I mean, where do you start? There's guys commercially fishing bonita right now. Because why? I make a lot of money off bonita with my fly fishing guys,
Yeah.
and I release every one of them.
Yeah.
And when they start thinning out, what's the next fish?
Right. Right.
What happened to cobia? What happened to dolphin?
Yeah.
Like, they have the wrong people making the decisions, and
Seems like it.
And we
Seems political is where I would go.
100%. So if you just take the example of shark depredation, right? And we have discussed this at length on this show since 2019. We were probably actually one of the first people in this format to discuss this, and I'm not saying because of me. That's because Art and Skip started talking about it on the show, and then we brought in Patrick Price, God rest his soul. We brought in Pat on the show after that incident happened with Thomas Osborne and everything. And we really started up in the game. And that's when we really started looking at it deeply into the show, investigating. And we've come to the conclusion that they have the wrong people making the decisions for this. So so with the shark depredation, the reason it's out of control is in the very beginning, they had the wrong people making the wrong laws and the wrong decisions, and with the sandbars and the bull sharks and everything, and not necessarily, everyone's thinking, oh, all sharks are all encompassing, and they're fishing in the wrong areas for them, so there's no sharks here, and all things like that. So that's just like one example of what I think you're talking about too. Is like with the fish management, you get the wrong people making the wrong decisions. Actually, the people that should be making decisions are the people that are sitting at this table.
And some of it may be cyclical. We see it. You guys can think back. Every year you would see a school dolphin that had 1,000 fish in it.
Yeah.
All little ones, but it gave you hope.
Yeah.
You'd see it every year. How long has it been since you've seen one of those schools?
Long time.
Yeah.
10.
We're certainly doing something wrong, and we definitely put an awful lot of focus on killing fish. And we're starting to see the conservation mind come around a lot better. Handling fish is getting a lot better as well. Using
social media hasn't done us any favors either, because
That's
they're
a definite.
hey man, I caught this, I caught that. Everybody wants to throw their dick on the table and say how much fish they caught and how big it was and everything, and it's making it very difficult, right? I think the other part, to your point,
it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
You see a guy posting whatever species it is, billfish, he's sailfish. Every day he's posting. You're thinking he's catching sailfish all the time, but it's probably, one of 20 that he's caught. But he's got 85 photos of each.
Fish per effort is like,
With Andy Mills, I talked about something that concerned me a lot, kind of to your point about water quality. For the first time in my life a few years ago, I saw the spinning baits in the bait pen.
Wow.
And never saw that before. And believe it or not, it started at places in marinas where there was really good water, like Ocean Reef and Crandon Marina. So you would think closer to the ocean like that, that's a marina you would get used to seeing, tropical fish swimming in. It was very clear water. And that, about 4 years ago, I'm going to say roughly, the reef cup down there.
When all the bait died.
All the bait died.
Right.
And that was the spins. And what concerns me is that it was happening to baits that were a week old, 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, in the hardened baits. So in the bait fishing and bait preserving world, a fresh bait is what you would expect that from. These were baits that were a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks old. And what worries me is if that happens to seasoned baits, which were usually tougher than fresh baits with a thin slime coat, when they season, they get that thicker slime coat. What's happening to the wild fish? What if there's a school of pilchards in that bay or in that creek? That would be a silent killer that nobody would even understand. That's the one thing that haunts me in the back of my mind is are we losing forage fish
Yeah.
in cleaner water areas. You know the funny thing, when those baits died at that reef cup, do you know where everybody had to go? Coral Gables. They were running in the mornings up to Coral Gables in that black water, in that dark water. So what is that? I don't even know what that is.
That's crazy.
It's opposite of what you would expect. You would think the stagnant water would be the better or the worse water.
Worse water.
And it turned the other way around. And guys, you know, I could name 4 or 5 boats that were running every morning in their fast outboards, running up there to the bait pens, and then they couldn't, like I'm trying to remember the big boat. Holy cow! I fished with them. Can't remember. Anyways, one of the big boats there at Ocean Reef would have to basically get the people on the boat in the main marina and then go around and get their bait on the backside of Ocean Reef and then leave. They couldn't bring their bait from the backside.
They would die.
They'd die in the marina.
They die all the way.
Crazy stuff.
So how do you make that the canary in the coal mine?
I
Right? Like,
don't know.
How do you get the warning sign?
Well,
Right? Like
I got videos of it right now. I could show you.
That one's
Yeah, no, I-
one's a tough one.
I remember this and hearing about it and like sitting there going, holy shit.
Seasoned bait was dying.
This is an issue.
That's what worries me, because I wonder if it happens to those hardened baits, what's happening that we don't know about. That's not to get really, what's the right word, panicky about it, but it is something that make you think.
You look at our water, okay? We allow people to put chemicals in our water that you would never put in water that you swim in or drink in or surf in or dive in or you know, there's so much stuff that flushes out to sea that you would never allow to be in your water. And you know, not for nothing, it all boils down to water, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You can go 30 days without food, 3 days without water, you're dead as a stone. And we're not protecting the water that you know, that percolates through the ground, that is our drinking water. That is mind-boggling to me.
Meanwhile, everybody's walking around with a plastic bottle with water in it, like it's their lifeline.
Plastic. You know what? What plastic's made out of?
Oh my God.
Petroleum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's mind-boggling.
but wind's gonna save us.
Yeah, wind will get us.
Come on.
You know,
We're sounding like a bunch of old guys
no,
just
but
complaining.
sadly,
Listen.
if you
I've got
boil
some
it down,
Atlanta back here. If you guys need it. Just
man,
let me
here we
know.
go.
Wait, can I have some Idol?
I don't even have
Metamucil's kicking in.
a box of tampons.
I promise you this: if you boil it all down, it goes to one word: greed.
100%.
Somebody is making a profit where that's going into the environment.
Well, listen. At the end of the day, like, everybody at this table has made a living, just doing this fun thing that we all did as kids, right? I paint about it, right? And it's just really incredible that we've been able to pull that off, you know. And we talk about, you know, enjoying moments and you know, being stewards and being responsible and getting to a point in your life where it's like, okay, now it's my watch, you know, and we got to be the ones that are the ones telling the next generation coming up, you know, and I think that's a bold and welcome responsibility to have. You know what I mean?
This is what I will also tell you: nobody grows up wanting to be an activist.
Right.
You don't. You see something you love destroyed and you become active. You either fight it or you accept it and move away. Those are your two options, you know. And like for me, I watched my river go from the Indian River go from the most diverse saltwater estuary in North America to a moonscape in a year.
Wow.
And I mean, like, you can't catch a trout, you can't catch a redfish. The pompano don't stay because there's no food. The stuff that were easy days, you know, just like ladyfish and jacks, you can't even find that. You can't do that.
I just fished up in the Banana River with Derek, and I caught a trout, and he was looking at me. He's like, "Oh my God, really?
A trout?
Yeah."
Holy cow.
He's like, "Hold that up! I need to take a picture." I'm like, "This is little trout."
And literally,
and I'm like, "Really?"
You know,
and he's like, "No." He's like, "We don't catch them here anymore."
12 or 13 years ago, you know, it was common to catch 20. Let's just go throw topwater plugs for trout for a little while.
Yeah.
So you see this change and you become an activist. And, I looked at it in a lot of different ways, and I threw my hat in with Captains for Clean Water because I saw the plan to restore the flow of water. It makes common sense. I mean, it seems like everybody knows the answer. Right?
There's something we're lacking in the world. Common sense in every faction of what we're doing.
Flow it back like nature did it.
Right.
Or, and you don't have to open up the whole Everglades, but create a pathway for the water to get to the Keys where they need it, they want it, and keep it from going to the coast where they don't need it or want it. It's just common sense.
Right.
So if there's solutions there, then those are the things you want to get behind. It makes it a lot easier. If there's not a solution, then you got to help find the solution before you can really.
Listen, you
get
got.
behind it.
Obviously, you've been in front of Senate. You know how hard that is, and you know what an uphill battle that is. And also too, I remember when really like everyone was all about, oh, Big Sugar is a battle. Big Sugar is a battle. It's a battle, but it makes it really, really tough when you're going up there with just five guys. It's just one. That's what I'm saying. It's one of the battles. It makes it really tough when you're just five guys going up there with a couple of sheets of paper in front of for an issue that's probably predetermined, but the Big Sugar guy's got 5 lobbyists for every politician that's going to put the vote on there. How do you fight that? How the hell do you fight that?
Vote new people in and have term limits.
You fight that in the court of public opinion, and
you have to. That's the only place to do it.
That is one of the benefits of social media nowadays. Is and the internet is that you can't hide things. You can't hide the truth. You know that old saying, you can fool some of the people some of the time, all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Mm-hmm. It's very true. And there's a lot of smoke and mirror campaigns. There's quite a few industries in this country. The oil industry, the cigarette industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the sugar industry that have these big controls, big financial controls on what goes on in this country, and control our politicians.
I think the politicians are the biggest industry.
And they are they all, their biggest job is to get reelected.
Right.
Term limits.
Look here.
They're going to vote themselves out.
Term limits.
I had this great.
I know. That's the problem.
Tell me this. I had this great idea to start a company that you picked issues and you take donations, right? So you're publicly funded to bring the issues in front of the people and get enough signatures to get it on the ballot without going the way of to get a politician to put term limits on the ballot. They're not going to do it.
Never.
But if you get enough signatures to get it on the ballot, and it gets on the ballot, this is a democratic society.
It really baffles my mind
which way
everybody
it's going.
wants this.
Correct.
And why is it so hard? I have rarely met a person where I've said term limits and they're like, "No, we don't need that."
I've always wondered.
Who says?
I've always wondered why a judge can get in trouble for taking bribery, but lobbying is legal for politicians.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Right.
That's insane.
I don't know a whole lot, but that doesn't make
Same
sense.
thing.
How is lobbying legal?
Same
That's
thing.
paid influence.
And the same
And if
goes,
you just took that one thing away,
that'd be a big one.
big one.
Money that goes to political campaigns. If you limit
lobbying.
you limit
Cap it.
Well, no. Here's how it goes. All the money goes into one fund, and that fund gets spread equally among the candidates. Mm-hmm. So then all the candidates, all the people who are trying to get
Can
into
you
the
imagine
candidate.
all the people that'll run
Then-
just to get some money?
Well, but it'll actually run on the issues.
Yeah, well,
Right.
maybe.
Because they all have the same amount of money. You can't
Yeah.
smoke and mirror you.
Yeah, true.
They can't spend all their money on negative politics slamming you.
Holliday
Because they
for
only
president.
have a limit. No, I don't want to. And let me tell you, I had my midlife crisis and ran for county commissioner.
You did.
I will never do that again.
Why?
I would be the wrong
For
person
you
for
for
that.
trying to fight the good fight.
A mullet on every plate.
Yeah.
Well, listen. At the end of the day, like you said, the court of public opinion. What you can do for the time being is support for Captains for Clean Water because they're really the boots on the ground right
They're
now.
unbelievable.
They're doing it. They're doing it fearlessly. They're doing it. They've taken an issue that has a solution.
My hat's off
Yeah.
to
And I
those
just
guys,
want
and
to see
they
the
have-
solution.
they have
If it
been
ever goes
jamming.
through, our waterways are getting destroyed at an accelerated rate. And if we don't do something, the same with South Florida's water supply.
Right.
It's shrinking.
There's a town just south of here that's really to blame for a lot of things right now. Their lack of vision for I mean, don't even get me started on, on Fort Lauderdale
and
with their sewage issues.
Look, there's
their
some
lack
smart
of vision
people
on that.
out there in those worlds
Horrible.
that are in the industries, and I'll give you this good example. In California, in the almond industry, so the water supply is public. We all own the water, right? It's a public. Trying to think of the word. Resource. It's a public resource. We all own it. So when a group tries to tell you that we want to get a certain amount of water, we want to be guaranteed a certain amount of water. How does that work? That you're guaranteed part of my water?
Yeah, right.
Right. In California, they did that. They gave the almond growers a certain amount of water, and then when the area had a drought and things started to dry up, they didn't have enough water for their town. So the almond growers sold the water back to the town. They still do it today. Like when you guarantee people water,
pennies on the
you're
dollar.
just opening it up for
somebody's getting paid.
Wow. It should work. It should work like this. A farm, the way farms I've always seen they have their own reservoir. They catch rainwater and they shovel it into a reservoir and they use that to irrigate their fields. We have Lake Okeechobee, which is a reservoir for the EAA and farms really all the way around the lake. Now, what if there's X amount of water is guaranteed to you, to all the farms, free? You can all have your water you can have 1 million gallons of water free, but everything after 1 million gallons of water, it's part of the public resource. We're going to charge you and we're going to put it back in Florida's tax base and use it for our tax, to decrease or increase salaries and increase expenditures and open programs. And we're going to use it for just conservation, whatever we want to do with that money. The people who are the giant water users that want it have to pay for it.
Yeah.
We probably won't see that demand quite as great. You might actually build a reservoir on their own property.
Yeah. So I have to segue from that. I have a question here. We have a fan question because we're giving away a bottle of rum here today. So we do have a winner that Carlene has selected. It's from Cody Davis, who is a young guy who fishes a lot on Lake Okeechobee. He's a tournament bass fisherman.
I know who he is.
Yep, and he's really, really good kid. He grew up here in the Deerfield area, actually, not the Pompano area, but just one town north of here. And he asks you guys, name a time you saw a fish or a species in a depth or even a place that it shouldn't have been that surprised you. That's his question.
I mean, I can name all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. I've been at the Jensen Beach Causeway, which is about 6 miles from the St. Lucie Inlet. And it's total salt water. It's in the Indian River. And I've seen alligator gars in front of that causeway for 2 months at a time. Just gars swimming around. Mm-hmm. I've been at Sewell's Point and seen alligators swimming down the river. I was lifeguard on Stewart Beach. We had an alligator on the beach one day. Like, what's it doing there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of sailfish in under 30 feet of water. Seen them on the beach in Palm Beach.
I caught one on the beach in 10 feet of water.
Right in the beach, yeah. I think Robbie Lawson caught a sword up there in 100 yards off the beach. Yeah, so either caught it or harpooned it or something. No telling with Robbie.
Yeah.
Put out the gill net. I don't remember.
Nice. Thanks, Cody. Stop by the studio, pick up your bottle of rum, buddy. Right. I think he's of drinking age.
Cool.
It's a good one.
I'm pretty sure he is.
That's a kill two birds with one spoon there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Guys, thank you.
Been fun.
You're going to make us go home?
No. Actually, I can ask you each one last question.
This could be 2 parts.
What's that?
This whole thing could be 2 parts.
So, well, we did that with the last tournament talk. So I actually do want to ask you guys a question because I really think this is cool to do. Because we ask this question a lot, right, on the show. And I think we were talking earlier about making mistakes and regrets and different things like that. We touched on it. We didn't really get into it, right? But one question that we ask a lot of our guests on this show is everybody has their one
that got away.
Oh God.
right? They're one that got away. Everyone has one. Everyone's had multiples that got away, but everyone's had that one that got away. Who wants to start with that one?
I got a Bermuda fish. Yeah. Day before the 4th of July, we hooked one, got tail wrapped, and we came up stone dead, put him in the boat, and it was jumping on the first series of jumps. I said he's 400 or 500, and when we slid him in the boat, he was north of 8. And they always look small to me jumping away. They just never seem to, not seeing the girth, see the profile. And the day after the tournament, of course, we didn't catch anything on the 4th or in the blast to kill. And the day after the tournament, I was on the Wheeze and the Keys, and Scott Robbins, the owner, goes in. He says, it's been a long few days. I'm going to go lay down. I go, well, I'll come get you, if we get a bite. He's like, no, catch one. I go, you sure? He goes, yeah. The one left short, and he looked 1,000 pounds jumping. He's just giant on a 130, and got about 100 yards from the boat, shook his head, gave me whiplash, one of the big head strokes, and pulled the hook. Yeah. That one made me cry. That was a tough one.
Can you close your eyes and see it?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I remember him jumping broadside, and the girth at the chest was almost the same as the anal fin. He was just square. It was just this block. We all went, wow. Not in a tournament, but it was a cool fish. And it was the biggest one I'll probably ever fight. I've never gotten to go back to Australia and, have those chances in other places. That was a cool fish.
Yeah. How often do you get to actually fish nowadays?
Well, I'd say last year I fished somewhere between 150 and 175 days. I fish a lot. We got 3 charter boats, and somebody's always sick. And, I have a customer that I fished with for so long, and, there's always an excuse to go. And I could do that, or I could do like really tough stuff on land. So I just, I always seem to find a reason, and everybody thinks I don't fish much, but I fish a lot.
On the rod.
Oh, no, not on the rod.
That's
I'm saying
what
run
I'm
on the
talking
boat.
about. That's what I'm talking about.
Whew, not a whole lot. Yeah. And I honestly, you get, life is full of stages. In the beginning, you're just this young person that wants to learn it all, do it all, kill them all. And then that stages just get gentler and kinder and more instructive. And I'm kind of at the stage where I get as much fun, as much enjoyment, just the young people. And, my son and daughter worked on the boat with me in the last 3 or 4 years, and nothing better. And a bunch of young kids. A lot of the kids that work on my charter boat start at like 14 or 15. Starting out begging for bonitas for shark fishing or whatever, and finally we throw them on the boat, and it's really, really fun. So that to me is really the reward.
For sure.
I enjoy it.
For sure. Yeah.
The last time I went fishing with Art, he jumped down from the tower.
Yeah.
He's like, "Give me that thing."
Yeah.
It's like, it's been a while.
I still
Then
like
he
it.
grabbed it. He's like, "Oh man, this almost feels weird." He's like, yeah.
No, I still like it. And I get, like, every once in a while jump on a boat as an angler mate, so I'm a mate, but you're always catching this backup fish, second, third, fourth bite,
Yeah.
And I still love it.
Yeah. Mike, one that got away.
Yeah, so I fish this 2 guys all the time. Every summer I fish them from July. One guy from Orlando who's a attorney, and one guy from Colorado. And they good friends. They get together. We fly fish offshore, live chum. And the first year we fished, the one guy, the attorney, caught a 42-pound wahoo on fly.
Wow.
That just came
On
in.
fly.
First,
Nice.
we just stopped. I was just chumming. He came right in, and the guy had just on an 8-weight, and the guy just flipped the rod out, and he ate a fly. He had a 30-pound leader with a fly my daughter tied, and just mono, and caught him right here in the corner, and we got that fish. A year goes by. I'm fishing the same guys in July. We're chumming, and he's bringing in a bonita, and the biggest wahoo I've ever seen in my life comes in after that bonita. And I land it, and I'm chumming. He won't respond. He's just sitting right next to the boat.
Wow.
And I'm chumming. He won't respond to the chum. And I had a couple of those big turbo sardines in the well, and I had the right rod. I had a 50-pound Tiagra with a 50-pound braided line and a wire leader on it. And I put one of those sardines out, and I flipped it out to him, and he would not eat it. And I kept looking around. I wanted that fish so bad. I was looking around for a treble hook
Free gaff.
Look, if I had a big enough treble hook, he was too far down for the reach with the gaff. But if I could snag him, I was going to snag him.
Wow.
And I couldn't find a big enough treble. And finally, I'm chumming and nothing's going to show up because Wahoo's there. I go,
Right.
we got to leave. So everybody brings everything in, and I had the bonita in the boat, and I took the bonita and I threw it out, and the Wahoo swam up and ate the bonita whole right next to the boat. And I can close my eyes and see him today, man.
He gives you a little wink as he's swimming away.
Oh,
like-
man. I know that doesn't have a hook in it.
Dead bonita whole, 15-pound bonita.
Hole.
That's what he wanted. I learned my lesson. Now I know what to throw at him.
Yeah, right. Karl, you've been on the show, I don't even know how many times, literally.
Handful.
Have I ever asked you this question?
Handful. She was 16. I was probably 12. And I'm just kidding. So
See, that's the thing. I always ask the question at the end of the show where I'm like all snockered, and I can't remember if I ever asked you the question.
This is a Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
honestly, no. Like, you know what? Yeah, there's been some fish that got away, but my
One that haunts you?
since I had a moment as a young guy, 16, 17, when I lost my shit because we missed a fish, and I stood at the transfer. I threw my gloves up against the wall. I told a story earlier tonight, and from that moment on, if I lost one, that was not the end of the world. And I've lost a lot. You can't catch them all.
We all have.
What do you think the biggest
They're not
marlin,
nailed on. They're not hooked on. Man,
the biggest one you saw, where was that? I always love asking that question. The biggest marlin you ever saw that just made your jaw drop.
Madeira.
Yeah. Tell the story.
Well, Australia. Like
Or Africa.
Both places are like, both those places. You sit there and you go. I had one. I'm in the tower, and we had one in Madeira followed us. She was. I called Barky on the radio. It was just after like 5 or 6 minutes, and she just kept swimming in the middle of the, spread. And I'm sitting on it. So I call Bark. I go, Bark, Jesus Christ! She won't eat. She's the one, and she won't eat. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, that happens. Yeah. He's all calm on the radio, and I'm like, I'm going nuts.
That's funny.
And he's like, no, sometimes they'll just swim with you for the whole damn time and everything. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, boys, throw this, do this, wind up, bye guy. We're trying everything.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But an incredible animal.
Yeah.
An incredible animal. And we couldn't get her to eat. God knows how. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then with Peter, the first day I showed up, there was a 1254 hanging. I fly in on the plane, 1254 hanging on the scale. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the spot. Next day we go out, and I'm in the tower with Pete, and we raise one, and I'm sitting there and I'm going,
1255.
I'm like, are you kidding me? And Pete's like, boys, it's a nice one. It's a nice one. And I'm going like, and I know Pete. Like, Pete. And when he says it's a nice one,
Get ready.
you better fucking get your shit together because it's a nice one. And this fish she was unbelievable. Her bill had to be that. It was just, and it looked like you could club someone to death with that thing. And I just don't even. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Majestic.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, I'll tell you another one that got away. A snook on the wall behind Sailfish Point. I sat there, and I would go at the end to work when I used to work on this boat. And at the end of the day, I'd go up and I'd take my spinning rod and I'd go to the back walk when the tide was flowing out because the snook would come out of there. And, this thing's head was like this wide. And I got a bite out of her, but that was I obsessed over that fish for so long that every day I kept waiting because she came around and I knew she was going to come along that wall. I finally got a bite out of her and everything. I catch her and I got her hanging there and I'm like, you dumbass, you didn't.
Now what? How are you gonna get down there?
I'm like, I didn't bring a gaff. I didn't bring a bridge gaff. I didn't bring anything. And I'm like, shit. And she shook her head, and the plug flew out. It was a chartreuse. Oh, no, I mean, anyway. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had a blue marlin in St. Thomas. I'm in the cockpit on the Pescador, and Ralph wasn't on the boat that day. It's like the only day he didn't fish that I can remember. And I look back and I go, Billy, there's 2 whites on the long. And he goes, those are not 2 whites, in his usual calm demeanor. And I'm like scratching my head. What do you mean? He goes, that's 1 blue marlin. And it was his peck fins. And they were so far apart.
Wow.
Come on.
Oh, yeah. And we hooked it. And we had a Mexican friend of, like the Mexican consulate friend of Ralph's on the boat, and got in the chair. And the only time I ever saw Billy back through the spread, Billy always ran forward, but he was, I guess, afraid we were going to get spooled on that one. And we actually got close to it. And that morning I had sharpened. Back then we were fishing double 19 wire with 7754s, right?
Yep.
Like 11-0s. This was on a big lure. This is, archaic rig. And we
At the
pull
ta-
him
in the
off.
time, it wasn't archaic.
I know, but
It was what we did.
And I sat there for like 10 or 15 minutes with a Red Devil file, sharpened that thing down to nothing. And
Mill bastard smooth.
oh, yeah. And I mean, that thing was a razor and magic marker and all that. And pull the fish off. We bring it up, and the hook is bent out. 7754 steel hook, bent out at a 45 and twisted to the side at a 45, just like that. And I carried up to the bridge. I said, Billy, I am so sorry. I didn't realize that hook wasn't tempered. When I sharpened it, I thought it was hard, I thought for sure that's the only way. A 7754 is a gaff hook.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He goes, got the leader around its tail. And he says, and it's like a rope, and when she bends her tail, it cinches down, and the leader opened that hook because of the torque of the tail.
Yeah,
He said,
she
he goes,
hogtied.
He goes, you want
She
to
was
prove it?
hogtied.
Prove it to yourself? I was fishing with Israel. So it was Israel and Tito were the 2 different mates I worked with over the years. Israel was a strong Puerto Rican dude. He goes, go down there, get 2 pliers with Israel and try to move it. And we could not bend it with 2 pairs of pliers. That's how the hook was clearly normal. And that fish opened it up. Yeah, that's another one. I got a couple more, but those are the 2 that stand out. Then there's the question, what's the most money you lost on one fish because you lost it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
We
got
could
more,
be here a while.
You got more
Go
of those.
on.
You got more of those than I got because we didn't do a lot of tournament fishing. I did in the my early career. We fished all the tournaments on the up on the East Coast. But with Mark O'Brien, we didn't do that. We went to the places. It wasn't about tournaments. It was about going to the exotic places.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we pushed the limits of going here, there, where there were no tournaments. So I didn't. I can't hang my hat on tournaments because I really didn't. I've won a couple and everything, but not. We didn't focus on that.
Yeah.
That was not our deal.
I think to me that's probably the greatest part about this scene, right? Is that there is actually so many different avenues that you can take, and so many different things. And we've had on this show all different kinds of fishermen. I mean, you even talk about like the things that Jeff Harkavy has done down in the Amazon fly fishing for peacock bass. You know what I mean? And all that shit just amazes me.
Yeah, cool stories.
And then you hear about all the things about, with Eric Leach coming on talking about fishing in Japan and all the Madeira stuff and the Australia stuff, and we had Mike Sheeter
I was here for
on the
Mike.
show. Yeah, and we talked about all the Madagascar stuff that he's done and the sword fishing that he's done from the big cargo ship and
From the cargo ship,
Yeah.
he's catching swords.
Bo Jennings with goats.
oh my god,
I was here for that one too.
dude, that story that Bo told is hilarious. Anyway, they're fishing for
They're
marlin
open to
off
any type of
Madeira, and
species.
then someone says, "Hey, look at that guy up on the cliff, and he's doing something to a goat." I'm just gonna leave it at
And the
that.
next day, it happened
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, it happened again the next day.
Poor goat.
But I mean, that's
He sounded like he was a
bad
bad.
boy.
bad moment.
We had all that going on here.
I don't know, man. That's my favorite part about all of it. It never ends, and there's just so many different avenues and journeys, and and stories to
That's
tell.
what the water gives us.
Yeah, right.
Well, this podcast is called Connected by Water, right?
Yeah.
So there's this really cool book called Blue Mind, and it's not really a fun read. It's real scientific, but it proposes or puts forth the theory that we're all drawn to water.
Right.
That water calms us and relaxes us, and lets our mind like let go and explore, and takes all the hard thoughts out of our mind. And in the book, they do all these scientific experiments where they hook electrodes up to people's heads, and they let them touch different things, and one of the things is water, and they monitor, and they let them smell different things, and they show them pictures, and in all cases the water evokes that reaction where it calms them and brings them to a state of happiness.
We started in water.
We did start in water.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's really a vortex. I mean,
We've been trying our whole life to get back in that water.
That's it.
you could drive in the car all you want. No one's going to wave back at you.
We
That's not water, Karl.
We're leaving that one right there.
we certainly spend an inordinate amount of time in, on, and around water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to save it, and we have to preserve it.
You got to cut Karl off over there. He's getting out of control.
No.
Have you reached that point, Karl?
Part of the flavor. Hey, listen.
Listen, guys.
I mean, part of being connected by water and what we do. When I've been, lucky enough to be with Dan Smith. Listen, this is it's reality, and listen, all of us in our careers have had moments where this is what we do, and you are who you are. So let her rip.
Listen, it's been my honor to sit with you guys here at this table tonight.
It's been my honor to sit
Really.
with these guys too.
Yeah.
This has been really, really nice.
It's
I mean,
so fun. We never all
Holliday.
get to sit together.
Yeah.
Or spend time
So
together.
stoked.
I feel like
So
I
stoked.
have won like some sort of competition where I
Yeah.
get to hang out with you guys at this table and drink from it. I really and
Just don't invite us because we'll show up again.
well,
There you go.
now that we know that it's
Yeah.
what the time and day it's on,
Yeah, watch out.
we
And there's
can
sushi.
just become part of the Carl Club.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it.
Sushi.
Absolutely. Oh my God!
You're
You
gonna
guys are
struggle.
welcome anytime. You
Well,
kidding me? Become
like
regular
driving
guests,
by,
please.
what am I going to do? I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'll
Please
just slide
become
in
regular
here.
guests.
Hey man, I got to thank you because I get to talk to Ray a lot, and I love his products, and we do our stuff. Mike and I have known each other for a long time. I've always because I'm like, dude, I got to come fishing with you now.
Yeah, we talk about
and
it.
I'm so busy, and I never get to.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, and Ray and I got to fish, on a CV boat a couple years ago and everything, and I was just like so stoked. I'm like, oh man, cool. We get to spend some time.
Yeah.
And we're all so busy, we don't get to spend time. So
It's the
for
truth.
us to be
Yes.
here to do this
a
with
pleasure.
you made it happen, and I'm stoked because
I'm too. The
Holliday,
the-
fucking A, man, this guy's the man. Ray, what do you? I mean,
Hey, listen, I hear you. This is my time too. Like this is like I'm go. Like we've carved out time in this show to sit and talk and have those meaningful conversations, and this is. I love being a marine life artist, and I love running the studio, and I love doing. But this is absolutely my favorite thing that I do.
That's cool.
It really is.
It is.
You know.
Well, we'll all be together next week for
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
the legendary captain's dinner.
yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
congrats, Ray.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Both of you
congratulations,
guys.
guys.
Congratulations.
I mean,
So
you
much.
guys have, far, deserved everything that's coming your way next week and this
Thank
week
you.
or whatever it is. Mike, seriously, I really appreciate you coming and just giving us your
You'll
time.
see more of
and-
me.
Yeah, good.
Now I know
Good,
the
I hope
setup.
so.
This is all good for me.
Yeah, I hope so. And I really hope you guys enjoyed yourselves here
Oh, my
today.
God.
I
It's a
mean,
blast.
we try to provide a platform that
Maya,
allow-
send more rum.
Yeah, right. That was great when he came over. Mike really brought it today. That was good.
Mike
Yeah.
always brings
Yeah,
it.
that was good. That was good.
I spend a lot of time with Mike, and he's one of my favorite humans
Yeah,
on the planet.
I love him. I love him like a brother. I really do. I mean, it's just he's a special guy.
Yeah.
He really is. I don't want this to end. Jesus.
We'll
And
be
by the
back.
way,
We know the directions.
and by the
Yeah.
way,
We're good.
Papa's Pilar, it is a good product. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Oh,
what?
no,
I love-
it's amazing.
All right, so
You know.
so Papa's Pilar Rum. Shout out to Bahio Sunglasses. Shout out to Captains for Clean Water. Right, Ray, Karl,
Thank you.
Mike. We're going to end this like we always do, and
On
I
our
have
tackle.
goosebumps because I don't
forget
want to.
about that.
Yeah, I don't want to end it, but here we go. Your ego is not your amigo. Always do your best, and at the end of the day, just let God do the rest, and do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all.
connected by water.
Thank you, sir.
There we go.
Amen, brother.
Skull.
Let's go.
Skull.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.